That's the logo. It's the new normal. It's kind of talking about the old Adam and the new Adam. And all right, so remember last week we kind of talked about the Adam and Eve wanting to be like God. Well, then after that, there was a curse that happened across the world. Death entered into the world, but God also kind of cursed kind of the living nature of it, and like thorns, and I think it was hard to till the ground, and childbirth became difficult. And it kind of has this idea by the sweat of my brow, I will have to get contentment, right? By the sweat of my brow, I will have to get what is mine, right? So, and that's kind of the curse that was kind of coming in. And that is what Paul calls the old normal, the old Adam, that's serving yourself, and off the sweat of your brow, you have to get what is yours. That's the old normal. And Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22 through 24, it kind of talks about this. He says, put off your old self, which belongs to the former manner of life and is corrupt through the deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. It says, put on that new self. Or also in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, it says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. And so that is kind of what we're talking about here. We're talking about that idea of, by the sweat of my brow, I will get what is mine. But because God came as Jesus, Jesus came, died, and rose again, it has not kept us under that old thinking, but has now said there is a new Adam, where we don't have to work to gain everything, but instead we are brought into the kingdom by the death and resurrection of Jesus. And now we live in the new normal, which says I don't have to hoard on to everything that I have, but I can live a life of generosity. I don't have to hoard on to all those feelings of hurt that people have given me. I can instead live in forgiveness. I don't have to hoard anymore. I can live a life of generosity. That's the new normal. And so that's what we're talking about today. And so our verse for today, it's the epistle lesson. It's from Philippians chapter 4. And that's our verse for today. And near the end of it, he says this, I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I've learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. All right. How do we usually treat this verse? Right? How do we usually treat, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me? I was watching a friend's Facebook video, and he's big into weightlifting, and he was lifting something huge. I don't know, I'm doing good if I lift a 50-pound bag of dog food, for my non-existent dog. I struggle lifting that up and all that. But he was doing some huge lift, and he had one of those weightlifting, that keeps your gut in, what are the braces type of thing. And on the back of it said Philippians 4:13 on the back of it. And I saw this on Friday, and I was like, oh, and I couldn't figure out how to get it on here from Facebook. But we do that all the time, right? It's like I can, right? I can do all things. We got a little boxer guy there. It's like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can lift the heavy weights. I can become hugely successful. I can become massive and important and all these things, right? That's how this gets used so many times. And maybe you've used it for that. And it's fine if you've done that. But that's how we use it all the time. But let's put on our biblical glasses. This is one of my favorite terms. Let's put on our biblical glasses for a second. Our biblical glasses we look through it through the lens of the author and the original readers. Because we got to remember the Bible wasn't written to us. It was written for us, though. The Bible wasn't written to us, it was written for us. So we have to kind of put ourselves into the seat of those that it was written to for us to better understand it, okay? And that's one of my jobs, is to help you do that. All right? Where was Paul when he wrote these words? When he said, I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He was in prison. He was in prison. That's so far different, because we use this as like a rah, 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 God. Yeah, you're awesome. You're amazing, powerful, and you're going to make me powerful. And that was all written from a guy in prison. So have you ever been to, or maybe you worked for a company that brought in like a motivational speaker? Yeah, it's like, yeah, rah, rah. Was he ever like in prison when he was talking to you and riling you up? No, because normally we don't seek the advice of those that are in prison. If we do, it's the people that have gotten out and cleaned up their lives, right? And it's like, oh yeah, you're doing it now. We never seek advice from people from in prison, do we? Yet someone that was in prison, sitting down, the way prisons worked back then, there was a nice picture of him like this, but it was too small. So this is Rembrandt's painting of Paul in prison. So they would sit down on the ground with their legs out in front of them, and their legs would be in shackles, like in the wood that would cover with the holes, the stalks. Their feet would be in that, out, so they're always sitting. Can you imagine having to sit like that all the time? Like you couldn't even do like crisscross applesauce. By the way, that's the way it's called now. It's not called Indian style anymore. Get with the times. Crisscross applesauce. All right, what?
Crisscross applesauce,
Hands in your lap? You keep on going. See, I'm too old for the new stuff. Like that's all right. You can't even do that. Like, can you imagine just sitting like that constantly? And yet this same guy says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. What's he saying? This is one of those moments when I should just end the sermon right there and just walk off. And you're like, well, that was weird. But I'm too scared to do that. I'm too chicken. So I'll explain myself even more. But I gotta remember what the next slide is. Okay, yeah. But it was written it was written in this understanding from this guy who's in prison. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things. And Paul is talking about this new normal. That whether you have many things or little things, lots of something or very little of something, have experienced a great loss or have experienced a newfound wealth, you can get through it. You can get through it. Because Christ will strengthen you. You can get through it. And so if we look at this in the context of this, what has happened is this church in Philippi had written a nice letter and gave Paul a nice gift. And I guess it blew his mind because he's like, wow, this gift's amazing, because he wrote them an amazing letter that we call Philippians now. That is one of my favorite books. Philippians 2, which I quoted last week, is probably my favorite little bit of scripture. But we have this now. And he is saying, he's like, thank you so much for this gift. But he doesn't allow it just to stay there. He uses it as a teaching moment. Because the people back then, they also felt the same way about the old Adam, the old normal that we did. Like the philosophers of the day are just like those motivational speakers, because you know those guys. They're always just a little too trendy. They always have like the good jacket on, and they got the great teeth and like the good hair and all that. And they're over there. It's like you can be number one in your life, right? You just have to find it within yourself, right? You just got to find it within yourself. You have contentment. You just have to find it within yourself. And it's this big rah-rah. It's like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And I'm worried that we've turned, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, into that same rah-rah spirit. It's like, that's right, I can do it with Christ. Right? Like I can do all things. I can get through this little little bit. I can become a big, successful businessman. That's like, I haven't figured out how to quite to speak to you guys yet. I haven't figured out your lifestyle because I feel like it's weird saying, through Christ, I can get through this retirement, right? Like, I don't know, like I haven't figured that out yet. Like, that's, I haven't, so I'm working on it. I'm fine, I'll find it. I'll figure out how to get the knife in here a little bit. Like, that's, like, but like, I think we all feel that. We have these little bumps and we're like, yeah, I can get through it. And the philosophers of the day, they say the same things that we say now. And the problem is that a lot of times it's built around our own anxiety and our own worry about what tomorrow will bring, about what's going to come in the next month. Where we have to pull in ourselves. It's like, I'm so worried about what's going to happen to my family because they're making horrible decisions. I'm so worried about what's going to happen to my family that we then begin to do that. Well, I can go make it better. And we just get way too involved, right? You know? Maybe I'm starting to get the knife in now. Or maybe we're so worried about what's going to happen to our family, and those of you that still work, and you work and work and work and work and work. So you're like, I will finally have contentment with my life as soon as I get this promotion. For those of you that are retired in the room, does that ever happen? No. Yeah. If I just work hard enough, can I get this? You know, if everything is just, or we can do church world stuff here. You know, if that pastor would just speak like this, or just do this, or just do this, then the church would abound. And I'm like, if these people would just do this, and just do this, and just do this, then the church would be content, right? And be great. No. Right? Because we're using that verse to serve our needs. We're making God the servant of us. It's like, God, I want this to happen. Make it happen. Written by a man sitting, can't even sit crisscross applesauce, arms in your lap. Can't even sit like that. Has to sit with his legs straight out in stocks. I mean, because the world is constantly saying, you got to do all this, you got to do all this. And I think a great example of that, and I'm in Florida, so I think you guys will especially like this from my man Tim Tebow, right? So you guys all love Tim Tebow, right? No, not everyone. I'm in Florida now. Like, I used to get like veiled boos in Bentonville when I talk about Tim Tebow because there are hardcore Razorback fans there. But he was a Christian, so he's like, they're like, over there. So Tim Tebow, like when he would do the national championship games, he always had on the black of his eyes, he had, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can run through those linemen. I can throw those touchdowns. I can do all those things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, we know all this, and sometimes we feel that same way. We've been talking about this whole time. Now, let's fast forward from this picture a little bit on the front of Sports Illustrated. How has Tim Tebow's career been? I'm not a big sports fan, but I know about Tim Tebow's career. Yeah, hasn't been real good, has it? Like, he did really well in Florida. But what happened when he got to the Broncos? Made his playoffs the first year. What happened after that? Like, has he been an Eli Manning? No. Far, far from it. And he just got canned from the Jets a little bit ago. What's his latest venture? Baseball. He's playing baseball, right? What happened his first time out? He hit a home run, right? How do you think the baseball is going to go? It's going to be like Michael Jordan, right? It's kind of fun. Maybe he'll play on our team here. We can go watch Tim Tebow. Did he play here? Yeah. Oh, he did? Did you guys go play? Did you go watch? No one? Boo. I'll go watch Tim Tebow. I'll go watch Tim Tebow. But yeah, he really, his career hasn't been one marked with success. Now, he's bringing in the dough. He's got all kinds of endorsement deals and stuff like that. So this isn't a perfect metaphor. But he hasn't been like the most successful guy ever, has he? No, he hasn't. Do you guys know that his book released? He's got a new book coming out, and then it gets released this week. Do you know what that book is called? Shaken. 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 I think that's what it's called. As soon as I started saying it, I was like, I'm not confident in that. But do you know what that book is about? It's about how his life has been shaken. It's about how his life has been just all shooken up, and it hasn't been what he expected it to be. It just hasn't been what he wanted it to be. You know, Tebow he's always been, a nice guy, and I'm sure he's generous in ways that matter and stuff like that, because we don't hear about his generosity much. I imagine he's probably pretty generous. But I think he was using that terminology when he was at Florida for that old Adam. Yeah, he was bringing glory to God, and that's great. And that's great. But I think he was like, I need to be strengthened by God. And then he got in his professional career and it never panned out. And that brings us back to that guy sitting in a prison who says, I found the secret to contentment. It's that sometimes I have a lot. Sometimes I don't have very much. Sometimes things are going really well. Sometimes the job is awesome. Sometimes my neighbors or the people I play golf with, I'm trying to figure out your guys' life. I'm trying, those people that are around me, sometimes it's just going amazing. And sometimes I feel like I can't get air. I can't breathe. And I just don't know what the next day will bring. And I desperately just want to get out of those times. And Paul is saying this. He's like, hold on. Because I found the secret to that contentment. It's found in the God who came as one of us. And he lived and he cried and he laughed and he drank and he had partied and he walked with and had conversations and ate with us. And felt every emotion like we did. And he died for us and rose again to take away our death. So we wouldn't be governed by that old way anymore, where we have to find our own way to make it. So yeah, are your kids going to make some mistakes? Yeah, they are. Is the world going to end? No. Probably. Is your job going to be terrible sometimes? Yeah, it's going to be terrible sometimes. Is the world going to end? No. Eventually. But we know all of this. And we know that we can persevere through the rough times as well as the good times. Because Jesus died and rose again. And he is our strength. He is our strength to moving forward. So that book by Tim Tebow. I've heard some reviews about it and all that stuff. And it's him talking about all of his failures. And I imagine if you read between the lines, he still takes a lot of solace in this verse, but I think he understands it a little bit more because of that failure in his life. You're about as cute as they come. It's all good. Hey, we want that here, don't we? Yeah. That's awesome. We love having the little ones running around and stuff like that. That's what we want. And the reason why we want it is we want them to know desperately what Paul is trying to tell us as he sits in prison. Jesus has got you. And he loves you. And he'll see you through in all circumstances. Because we can do anything. And the Christ strengthens us. Amen. Let's say a prayer.